Welcome to our continuing series Questions and Answers from the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Today's subject is Willpower Part 3 from Sri Aurobindo. The only way to do it, develop the true willpower, is first to become aware of a conscious force behind that uses the mind, etc. Second, to learn by practice to direct that force towards its object. I do not suppose you will find it easy to do either of these things at once. One must first learn to live more deeply in the inner consciousness than you have done hitherto. It is not the right kind of willpower then, if it increases fatigue. Probably they use some fighting or effortful willpower instead of the quiet but strong will that calls down the higher consciousness and force. That the idea that one lacks willpower is the suggestion that has been enforced on you by the physical inertia. It has covered up your will and persuaded you that there is no will left and no possibility of any will. As the state of being changes, the will and temperament must necessarily be modified. Even from an early stage, the yogin begins to subordinate his personal will, or it becomes naturally subordinate to the sense of the supreme will which is attracting him upward. Ignorantly, imperfectly, blunderingly, it moves at first with many recoils and relapses into personal living and action. But in time, it becomes more in tune with its source, and eventually, the personal will merges upward and always into the universal and infinite and obeys implicitly the transcendent. Nor does this change and ascension and expanding mean any annihilation of the willpower working in the individual, as the intellectual man might imagine, but rather it increases it to an immense forcefulness while giving it an infinite calm and an eternal patience. But two things he has more and more to feel and to realize first: that life and matter follow their own law, and not, in man's sense of it at least, a moral, a rational, a mentally determined, aesthetic, or other mind order. And if he wishes to introduce any such thing into them, he must himself here create it, transcending the physical and the vital law and discovering another and a better. And secondly, that the more he follows these things for their own sake, the more he discovers their true form, swarupa, and develops their force to prevail upon and lift up life into an air of higher nature. In other words, he passes from the practical pursuit of a serviceable knowledge, morality, aesthesis, force of emotion, and willpower, serviceable for his vital aims, for life as it first is, to an ideal pursuit of these things and the transformation of life into the image of his ideal. This energy will not be in its essence an outward, physical, or muscular strength, but will be of the nature, first, of an unbounded life power or pranic force, secondly, sustaining and using this pranic energy, a superior or supreme willpower acting in the body. Many of the things we need for our perfection, courage, willpower, effective in life, all the elements of what we now call force of character and force of personality, depend very largely for their completest strength and spring of energetic action on the fullness of the psychic prana. But along with this fullness, there must be an established gladness, clearness, and purity in the psychic life being. Thus, the being of Vijnana is in all its activities a play of perfected knowledge power, will power, delight power, raised to a higher than the mental, vital, and bodily level. All pervasive, universalized, freed from egoistic personality and individuality. It is the play of a higher self, a higher consciousness, and therefore a higher force and higher delight of being.